Okay, so we continue with the following part. So last time, if you remember, we spoke about last class we spoke about phonetics, okay, and we concluded with a general chart, okay, cardinal charts, vowels chart. Remember, we have seen a chart there for vowels that you have to remember. What you need to remember in this regard is that chart particularly, okay, the cardinal vowels charts. So I explain to you how we come to that chart, okay, and I show you the anatomy, okay, and the organs of speech and different types of organs of speech, and also place of articulation, manners of articulation, etc. So we spoke about, we concluded with that cardinal vowel chart, and also we concluded with the consonants chart. You remember that big one over there? You have manner of articulation on this way, labial, etc. And you have place of articulation on the top, and you have manner of articulation on the other side, voice, fricatives, etc. Okay? So this is what you have to remember, these things. And also you have to remember those symbols. The cardinal vowels chart, those symbols. And each symbol you have to remember its characteristics, each features. For example, front, back vowel, mid, high or mid, low vowel, central vowel. So you have to take that vowel, that symbol, remember it, okay, and try to remember its features. We're going to come in the next classes to some point where we will do some little exercise, okay, in which I will be asking you, give me, for example, a mid vowel or mid central vowel, okay, schwa, for example, okay. So this is the type of thing that you have to be able to do and to remember. Okay? Of course, you remember the other things we have done. How we produce vowels, how we produce consonants, the way or the place where we produce vowels and the place where we produce consonants. Okay? You have to remember that anatomy. But basically what you have to remember, those beautiful charts over there with the beautiful symbols and with those nice okay, places of articulation and manners of articulation. Okay, everyone? So today we're going to move to phonology, okay, and we're going to talk about the main thing we're going to focus in here. It is the phoneme, okay, because the main unit of analysis for phonology is the phoneme. Okay, that's what the phonologists try to understand. They don't deal just with the place of articulation, manner of articulation, etc. But they try to understand the phonemes, how to determine phonemes, okay, and how to determine their different manifestations. This is a summary from the very beginning. How to determine the phonemes. There are criteria for this, which we're going to see later on, okay, and how to determine the different manifestations of phonemes. You can have different phonemes, t, k, d, g, okay? How do we come to the idea that these are different phonemes? So we're going to see the criteria. It's not too much criteria. Some criteria, the main criteria that the phonologists follow in order to determine the phonemes, okay? And also there is something else that happens, which is the different phonetic pronunciations, manifestations of those phonemes. You can have one phoneme which is pronounced a little bit different from one place to another, from one person to another, like with the aspiration, without aspiration, which we call allophones of the same phoneme, okay? You have the phoneme on the top, and then it has got different manifestations, okay? Depending on the context where it is. The context, I mean the context, the word, yes please, the phonemes, the neighboring phonemes, right? So, and also the other thing we are going to try to understand and to determine is try to find or to tell definition of a phoneme. What is a phoneme? Okay? What is a phoneme? So this is what we're going to speak about today. So this presentation or this lecture is divided into two parts. In the first, there is the first part. I call it, or it is called, the phoneme 1, and the other part is called the phoneme 2. Okay? Each part we talk about some criteria. Okay? Each part we talk about some criteria and some different results for those different criteria. And also I'm following here very good YouTube videos that I found online, which are done by a virtual linguistic campus in Germany, at a university in Germany. And they do some video tutorials explaining these things. So I also rely on that in my presentation, in addition to, of course, your main textbook I introduced to you in the very first lecture. I hope that you got it, linguistics. I see some of you getting it, okay? I remember last time I told you that in the evening I'm going to put it in the almanar, okay? And I did, okay? So you have it in there. Now, and I did, okay? I went home, forgot, but then I remembered, yeah, I have to keep my word. So I came back and gave it there. So the phoneme is the central unit of analysis in phonology, okay? So that's the central unit of analysis, by opposition to, for example, syntax. Syntax, they deal with the words, okay, and the sentences, basically, the sentences. In morphology, they deal with the words. So each level of analysis, right, has got its own central unit of analysis. Okay? Phonology, it is the phoneme. In morphology, it is the word. We take the word altogether. In syntax, we take the sentence, and then we try to determine the structure of the different types of sentences we can have. Okay? So, this is the central unit of analysis for phonology. It is the phoneme. You have to know this first, okay? And to understand, in order to understand this concept, okay, as I explained to you in the introduction, phonologists follow the following procedures. Okay? In the first part of this lecture, these are the procedures we're going to talk about. So we talk about functional analysis, what we mean by functional analysis. We talk about phonetic or articulatory analysis. It's part of it, because phonology, you are not far away, you don't forget about phonetics. It follows you. It's with you all the time. Okay? Articulatory analysis. And finally, we talk about distributional analysis. Distributional analysis. Okay, so these are the criteria that the phonologists follow in order to understand this concept called the phoneme, which is the central unit of analysis for the phonology. So, let's take this example. Okay, so you have this example. This is it's a sentence, okay? But we are going not to focus on the sentence. We are going to focus on the different sounds we have there. Okay? So we're going to, so Liz played with Paul. So this is how we speak. This is how we write when we are writing, right? But then our purpose is trying to see how these are pronounced. Phonetic analysis, articulatory analysis. I remember last time we spoke about this. And also, from this phonetic analysis, we try to determine the phonemes. What are the phonemes? Different phonemes. And what are the different manifestations of one phoneme? For example, here you can notice that L is different from P, is different from T, is different from P, or L, right? So the phonemes. But then, if you look at play, P there, and Paul. So you have one sound here, but it's different. There is a little bit of difference in pronunciation. Okay? So let's see that. In order to, one of the things, the other thing you have to remember as well, how to do the phonetic transcription. Okay? In addition to remembering the cardinal vowel chart, because what are the symbols we have there? The International Phonetic Alphabet, okay? Symbols. Okay? We put them in those charts for the vowels and for the consonants. So that's what we're going to use, okay, for providing a phonetic transcription for this, for the words and the sounds in this sentence, right? So this is how we write it, but this is how we transcribe it. Okay? This is how we transcribe all those sounds in that sentence. So you can notice there, so this is Liz played with, you look at there, you see there? We have seen that.
You can pronounce on dictionary.
Dictionary, of course, yeah. Usually, not usually, but all the time, you are familiar with this, okay? But here we try to study how we come to that stage, okay? That you have in the dictionary, okay? Now, please play with Paul, okay? Play with Paul. Look at this P here, and look at that P over there, with H on the top of it. What does it mean, that H? It means aspirated. There is a little bit more explosion and more air going out of your mouth. So you're going to say played, played, okay? Played. And then you have Paul. Look at that, the voice, the sound, the air coming out. So it makes that aspiration. Paul. Good? So this is how we transcribe this sentence. So we have Liz. And also the other thing you have to pay attention to there is the sound L. The sound L. Also, the sound L is pronounced differently. You have the same sound, L, but it is pronounced differently depending on the phonological environment where it is. For example, the first one, you have that symbol there, like a J. It means it is palatalized. You remember this thing we have seen last time? Palatalized, it means it is pronounced in the palatal region of your mouth, behind the teeth. Okay? In the middle area. I'm going to show you again the anatomy, the organs of speech to explain, to make things concrete for you. Okay? So it is palatalized. The other one, played, you see there are two symbols. Normally this is a 0. Normally this is a 0, but okay. Anyway, so J, and then you have that 0 on the bottom of the sound L. It means it is one sound, but it's also different from the previous one. The previous one, it is just palatalized, okay? That is to say, it is pronounced in the palatal region of your mouth. But this one, it is palatalized and also voiceless, devoiced, played. Why? Because of the P before it. P is voiced, voiceless, so it affects a little bit the L sound. Normally the L sound is voiced. L. You have a vibration there. But in here, in this context, it is devoiced. There isn't a lot, very slight. Why? Because of the P sound here, which affects it. Okay? Because it's difficult to make a vibration in this kind of context. Right? Finally, you have the last one, which is Paul. Paul, okay, look at there. So you have Paul. So that L at the end is also different. Look at the way how it is written, okay? And it means it is also the same sound, L, but the way it is pronounced is different. The first one is palatalized, the second one is palatalized and devoiced or voiceless, a little bit, okay? But last one, it is velarized. Velarized. You remember the organs of speech? The organs of speech. The velar, the velum is okay in the uvula. You know the uvula, that area which keeps moving like this.
Yes.
Before it, it's the velum area. So this sound le here is pronounced velarized. Velarized. Right? Why? Again, because of this vowel over there. That vowel is a back vowel. Okay? It's a back vowel. It's produced in the back area of your mouth. So that's why the tongue, the back part of your tongue, almost touches the velum. Right? Okay? And I'm going to show you this organs of speech again, the anatomy, and you will understand this. But I want you to just to explain to you what we do in phonology. So we do phonetic transcription, and also we try to understand from these, what are the different phonemes and what are the phonemes and their different manifestations. And in order to do this, we use, or phonologists use, what we call distributional analysis and functional analysis, etc. So now we are just talking about the first criteria, okay, which is phonetic articulatory analysis. That's the first thing you have to start with. When you have data, You have words, you have sounds. You have to start first of all with the phonetic transcription, with the phonetic articulatory analysis. That is to say, you try to provide the symbols, relying on the symbols we have in the vowel, cardinal vowel charts and the consonant charts, and you have to use those symbols and to try to give us phonetic transcription of all the sounds, right? So this is the first thing. So we're talking so far about phonetic articulatory analysis. Now we move to the second criterion, which is, okay, functional analysis. Functional analysis. And what do we do in here? We try to see what are the phonemes and what are the allophones. Okay? Are we going to say that l over there in the previous sentence are different phonemes or they are allophones? What are we going to say? Okay? So, yeah, are we going to say that p and p different phonemes or? And this is the role of functional analysis. Okay? You take lots of data like that sentence, lots of data, and then you try to do a functional analysis. What do we do in this functional analysis? For example, here you have, look, l there, velarized, and you have the palatalized, pol, okay? And then this is different manifestations of the same sound, right? Different manifestations of the same sound. But look again at this one. You have pol and pork. Pol and pork. They are transcribed in the same way. The only difference between these two words here, pol and pork, look at here. You have pol, and here you have k. Okay? So they are the same. There is no difference. Okay? The same, phonological environment. I'm talking here just about the word. Okay? But then in this context, because of this difference, here we have l and k, it results in a difference in meaning. Pol is different from pork. By opposition to the first one, pol. It's the same word. But the only difference is in the pronunciation of l. In the first one there, it is velarized, and the other one, it is, okay, palatalized.
So this
Yes.
the second, both of them are allowing the air respiration. So pole and pole.
I'm not talking about p here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about l
Pole.
and k. This is what I focus on. Okay? Now, in the first one, I focus on l, but here I focus on this one and this one. Because of this difference, here we have l, and here we have k. We have different words. Pole is not pole. They have different words. Then, the same thing here, you have pole or pause. Pole, again, is different from pause. Pole is one word, it's a proper noun. But pause, you know pause. You are watching a video on YouTube and then you pause it. Okay? To stop it for some time and then you come back to it again to play it. So here we have again the same phonological environment. Okay? The same phonological environment. The only difference is in one sound. In the first one we have pol at the end and pause in the other. And the result of this is different words. And this is what we mean by functional analysis. You look at the impact of different sounds, right? You have words, if you have different sounds, and then these different sounds, there is no impact on meaning, that is to say you have the same meaning. This is a kind of functional analysis, okay? And on the basis of this, you are not going to tell me, for example, that in Paul, the first one there, and Paul, second one there, you're going to tell me that these are different phonemes. No, they are not different phonemes. L and l, they are not different phonemes. They are just different pronunciations of the same sound. But in here, because of this difference, Paul, pork, we have l in the first one, and k in the second one. The result, there is difference in meaning. So here, different phonemes. The functional analysis, in functional analysis, I'm going to say that I don't have here different pronunciations of the same sound, but I have two different independent, okay, phonemes. The same thing for pull, pause, right? So this is functional analysis. You see? What do you do here? You are not only doing the phonetic transcription, but you try to analyze the words, the sounds, and meaning. Okay? The words, the sounds, pronunciations, and the meaning. If you have two words, they differ in two. Paul, Paul, it's the same sound. There is no difference in meaning, so these are just different manifestations, different pronunciations of the same sound. Okay? But if there is a difference in meaning, okay, we have different phonemes. Okay? So these here, these what you see in here, Paul, pork, and Paul, pause, these words here, we call them in the functional analysis minimal pairs. Minimal pairs. Okay? Minimal pairs. But Paul and Paul over there, these are not minimal pairs. Why? Because they are not different in meaning. There's only one little bit of pronunciation difference. Paul, Paul. Okay? But in here you have Paul, pork, Paul, pause. Okay? Here, L, and here you have K. So, and also Paul in terms of meaning is different from pork. It's a minimal pair. And therefore, I have two different phonemes. L is a phoneme and K is another phoneme. Okay? They are not different pronunciations of the same sound. Okay? The same thing here. Paul, pause. It's a minimal pair. Why? Because we have the same environment, Paul, pause, but they differ in one sound. Here you have L, and here you have Z. And the result, we have different meanings. So therefore here, I can't say that I have different pronunciations of the same sound. No, this is applicable over there. But in this one, I'm going to say that in my functional analysis, I'm going to say that here I have two different sounds, two different phonemes, right? So minimal pairs. So in functional analysis, if you have different sounds in the same environment and then you have minimal pairs, different phonemes. But if they are not minimal pairs, okay, like Paul, Paul, just one phoneme and it's pronounced differently. Okay, I try to repeat myself many times just to, okay, different ways, just to make these things for you. So, look there, so minimal pairs, you have difference in meaning. You have the same environment, but then they differ in one sound. Here you have L, and here you have Z. Here you have T, and here you have K. But we have difference in meaning, minimal pairs, so these are different sounds. Here, L and K, different phonemes. L and Z, different phonemes. I'm going to come back to the phonetic analysis. Like the first sentence I gave you. Okay. It is recorded. It's going to be on YouTube. And it's not good to know that students in Hibuzar University. Okay? It's not good. So please, if you have a mobile phone still on, make it silent. Okay? So, phonetic analysis. Your first sentence I show you at the beginning, Paul, Liz, etc. So here it is again. You remember the first one? I told you the first L is palatalized. The second L, it is palatalized and okay, devoiced. And the last one, it is velarized. Velarized. Now, how do we know this? By the anatomy. We go to the anatomy. So let's go. Let's go to the anatomy. So this is the anatomy. Okay, this is the vocal tract. Remember the vocal tract? So, and then in this vocal tract, it shows you the tongue. Look at the tongue here, which you have in blue. This is how the tongue is when we pronounce this palatalized L. Okay? It is like this. It is, look at this area here. Okay. Look at this area over here. It touches the palatal. Okay? It's palatal, okay? Palate. It touches the palate. Okay? In this area. So it is palatal. Then the other one, it is palatalized. That is to say, in this region here, in the palate, narrowing in palate region. The tongue, okay, and the palatum, they come like this. The palate, sorry, they come like this. Narrowing. Okay? So it is palatalized. The other one, look at the tongue again. It's the same. It's the same because it is palatalized. That is to say, there is narrowing in the palate region. The palate and the tongue, they almost touch each other. They almost touch each other, okay? But they don't touch each other, right? And the other thing I told you is devoiced. That's why you have this zero over here in the area of the vocal cords, the larynx. You have the vocal cords, they don't vibrate, zero, okay? So it is palatalized and devoiced, right? Next, the last one, look at the tongue now. You see the tongue? Okay? It touches the back, the velum. No more just in the palate. This is the palate, but now we go here in the velum. Okay? Velar region. So it is velarized, right? It is velarized. Tongue high in the velar region. The tongue is high in the velar region. So that's why, again, I told you in the cardinal vowels chart, you have to remember the vowels, the syllables, and also those features, medium, height, etc. All those details. The same thing for the consonant. You have the place of articulation and you have the manner of articulation. You have to remember the sound, those phonetic symbols, and also how they are pronounced. Okay? That is those are their features. When you say bilingual, that's the feature of that sound. Okay? When you say s is a fricative, that's a fricative is a feature of that sound. It's one manner of articulation. S. Okay? Yeah, there is no closing. There is no closing. Okay? But the air keeps going out. There is a friction. Almost touch each other, but not closing. Good. So this is again phonetic analysis. That's what I have seen. Okay? But then these sounds, velarized, not velarized, palatalized, not palatalized, these are not different phonemes. They are just different pronunciations of the same phoneme because there is no, okay, minimal pair. Minimal pair, what is a minimal pair? Minimal pair, it is the same phonetic, phonological environment. Pol, po, pol, pause, but there is difference in one sound. Okay? So that's a minimal pair. So in that case, I'm going to say that l and k are different phonemes. L and s are different phonemes. But in this one of pol, it's etc. Played. Okay? That's please, pol, or played. Okay? They are all different pronunciations of the same sound. So that's what we're going to say. Look with me here. These are the different pronunciations. We call these, they have phonetic similarity. Right? They have phonetic similarity. Okay? They are palatalized, they are voiced, alveolar, lateral. Okay? Voiced, alveolar, and lateral. Okay? So they have phonetic similarity. Okay? And also phonetic similarity is another way, another criterion, okay? Another criterion for determining phonemes and determining different pronunciations of the same sound. If you have phonetic similarity, l, p, there is phonetic similarity there, okay? So if you have phonetic similarity, just forget about the idea of talking about different phonemes. They are just different pronunciations of the same sound. It's another criterion, another way of distinguishing between, okay, phonemes and allophones, okay? So you can talk about phonetic similarity, you can talk about minimal pairs, okay, etc. Now let's move on with, so, and that's functional analysis, okay? Now we continue with distributional analysis, okay? Distributional analysis. And all these, they are related to each other. So people, phonologists, when they are doing their analysis, they take everything into account. Phonetic analysis, functional analysis, minimal pairs, phonetic similarity, same environment, etc., difference in meaning, not difference in meaning, and also distributional analysis. So they do everything. It doesn't, when I'm talking here about them separately, just for explaining things for you, okay? So, distributional analysis. What do we mean by distributional analysis? So you have the sound, alone, okay? So, and then, what do we do when we are speaking? We start putting those sounds in different contexts, in different words. And that's distributional analysis. In order to understand phonemes and allophones or differences in pronunciations, etc., you also have to look at the distribution of the sounds, how they are distributed in words. For example, here you have the first one, le, and le, it is velarized. The first one doesn't occur in every context, right? Doesn't occur in every context. There is only one context where it occurs, and that's before a vowel. Look please before, this is another thing you have to remember, another formality that you have to remember and to learn and to keep it with you all the time. Okay, this way, when we are analyzing distributional analysis, this is how we do it. We have the sound, like here I'm talking about that palatalized sound, le. I'm not going to write it le, but I'm just going to symbolize it by this underscore. It's an underscore, 8, you know, 8 underscore that you put in internet, emails, etc. So that's what I do. It means here, I have this sound. I put it here. Okay? It happens here. And then after it, you have a vowel. So this sound, it occurs only before vowels. Only before vowels. You can't have it in another context. Okay? This is distributional analysis. Okay? So you look at the sound, how it is used in words. This sound, how it is used in words, it is used only before vowels, not anywhere else. Okay? The other one, which is devoiced, palatalized and devoiced, it occurs only after the k. P and k sounds. And the last one occurs only after vowels. Occurs only after vowels. So you understand what I mean here by these symbols, the underscore, the V there, etc. Here, this is representing the sound I am concerned with, and here it represents the environment. Do you have after a vowel, before a vowel? Do you have a consonant or after a consonant? Okay. So, for example, later on in phonology, next semester, etc., inshallah, so you're going to have phonology. And what are you going to have to phonology, especially in the exam? Okay? You are going to have data, words, and then you are asked to analyze. Yes, analyze. And this is what you are going to do. You use this in your analysis in order to tell us what are the phonemes and what are the different sounds or pronunciations of the same phoneme. How are we going to do it? This is the way we do it. Yes, please. Last one, you have it after vowels. After vowels. Here it is before vowel, and that one it's after vowel. Okay, everybody? And this is distributional analysis. I think from the word explains itself. How it is distributed. Okay? How the sound is distributed in words. So, this is it. And in this context, when I'm doing this distributional analysis, another criterion that I have to take into account is what we call complementary distribution. Complementary distribution. What do we mean by complementary distribution? It means that one sound doesn't occur in the position of the other. One sound doesn't occur in the position of the other. For example, here you have this palatalized L over there, can't occur in this position here. And vice versa. Okay? This sound here, which is palatalized and devoiced, can never occur in this context or in that context. It occurs only in this context. So this is complementary distribution. And this is how another way to help us understand allophones, different pronunciations of the same sound. Okay? Minimal pairs, distributional analysis, difference in meaning, phonetic similarity, complementary distribution. So far in this first part, this is what we talk about, okay? Phonemes and how they are manifested in different environments. So complementary distribution. It's clear, complementary distribution? It's very easy. This is it. One doesn't occur in the position of the other. If you have something like this, these are different pronunciations of the same sound. But look at the word pole and poke. Pole and pause. K and lip, they occur in the same position. Pole and pause, l and z, they occur in the same position. So you see? So here in this pole poke, we don't have complementary distribution, right? We don't have it. Do we have complementary distribution? We don't have pole, poke. It's the same position. So if you have two sounds that can occur in the same position, those are different phonemes, and then you have another story. But if you have one sound that never occurs in the position of the other, those are allophones of the same phoneme. They are phonetically similar. This is another thing concerning the allophones. And finally, and this is the result. So, from our analysis so far, phonetical analysis, articulatory analysis, functional analysis, distributional analysis, minimal pairs, difference in meaning, distributional analysis, etc. We come to this idea. You have, in this context here, we have one phoneme which is represented in this way. Okay, the phoneme. So you have the phoneme. It is an abstract entity, okay, that exists in your mind. It is left. And how do we represent it? We just use Roman alphabets. This is how we represent phonemes. We use Roman alphabets. In this context, the most appropriate one is L. And the other thing, we use slashes. Look at the slashes here. You have slashes. So this is a phoneme, okay? And in this phoneme, okay, it has got different phones or allophones. It has got different pronunciations. From this analysis here, it has got different phones or allophones, which are palatalized, devoiced, and velarized. Because of this criterion of phonetic similarity, because of this criterion of complementary distribution. Okay? So in order to, when you are analyzing language, when you are analyzing sounds, right? In order to tell me as a conclusion that I have one phoneme and it has got different allophones of the same phoneme, you have to have this phonetic similarity and also complementary distribution. So you have this. Okay? But if you have minimal pairs, differences in meaning, and they occur in the same environment, the sounds occur in the same environment, those are different phonemes. K and L and Z. Poke, pole, pause, pole. Okay? So these are different allophones of the same phoneme. So distributional analysis. Any questions so far before I go on about this? Yes? So I recapitulate. So this is our sentence. Liz played with Paul. This is how. Now, this is phonemic, okay? We are talking about phonemes in here, okay? And then, this is the phonetic transcription. In order to come to this, okay? In order to come to this phonemic analysis, we have to go through first this phonetic analysis, complementary distribution, phonetic similarity, etc. Okay? And then, when we are going to represent this sentence phonemically, okay? Look, here we have le palatalized, and then devoiced. And here you have le, etc. Now, in phonemic analysis, look, you have le. Okay, no, nothing. I think just to emphasize it, to show it to you, okay? To show you this is what we are talking about, okay? So, I'm not going to say here we have le, and here we have another sound or phoneme, and here another phoneme. No, it is one phoneme. Le. And then this phoneme has got different allophones, different pronunciations, because we have phonetic similarity and because we have complementary distribution. What do we mean by complementary distribution? One sound doesn't occur in the environment of the other. So that's it here, okay? Before vowel, after p, and then this one here, it is after a vowel, okay? But for the other sounds, like z over there, or the or the, these are phonemes, different phonemes. Okay, look here. These are represented differently, even in the pronunciation. So, and that's what I finish with after my analysis, complementary distribution, phonetic analysis, etc. I say that I have one phoneme which is pronounced in different ways. Be careful about these symbols, okay? These are symbols which are not random. Remember that always for the phoneme we use slashes and we use Roman alphabet. But for the phonetic transcription we use brackets. And we use those symbols we have seen last class, cardinal vowels chart and consonantal chart symbols, like the. Okay? The. You're not going to write the. Okay? You're going to symbolize it like this. Okay? So the phoneme, it is an abstract head term, okay, that we have in our mind. And then this abstract head term or this phoneme has got family members. In some, it depends on the sound, the phoneme. Some phonemes have only 2 family members. What do we mean by family members? It's a metaphor, right? It means allophones, different pronunciations of the same. Okay? In others, you have 3, and maybe more. It depends on the sound, on the phoneme. For example, here, these are members of the family, of the phoneme there, so whatever phoneme. Allophones, right? And then they have phonetic similarity. Le. Phonetic similarity. But for example, le and k, there is no phonetic similarity. Le and z, no phonetic similarity. They are allophones, and they occur in complementary distribution. What do we mean by complementary distribution? We mean the one never occurs in the environment or position of the other. Okay? Maybe should I put it again for you if you want notes? Okay. Gives me time sometimes to breathe and take my Anyway, so you're going to have the presentation later on, okay? Now the second part of our lecture, other criteria, other aspects. So, to recapitulate in the first part. So, in the first part of this lecture, what did we do? We described the phoneme physically as an abstract head term, slashes, abstract head term, whose members, allophones, satisfy two main criteria. What are they? Phonetic similarity and complementary distribution. Phoneme, allophones, phonetic similarity, complementary distribution. Okay? Now we can start talking about a definition of a phoneme. What is a phoneme, right? So this, we can come up to this, okay, now we can talk about the definition of a phoneme. So phoneme is functionally viewed as the smallest linguistic unit capable of distinguishing meaning. That's why we're now going to focus more on minimal pairs and differences in meaning, okay? The phoneme is viewed as the smallest linguistic unit capable of distinguishing meaning. So, in order to reach this, in order to find these words, these phonemes, which are capable of distinguishing meaning, there are some what we call discovery procedures. One criteria, discovery procedure, okay? And then free variation, right? So, in order to find these phonemes that lead to differences in meaning, we need to do these two. Discovery procedures, what are these discovery procedures? We're going to see that. And talk about free variation, okay, as a criterion as well. First part, which is discovery procedures, we have to look for these. Okay? Discovery procedures, we have to look for minimal pairs. What do we mean by minimal pairs? It is words which are similar and they differ only in one sound, and also they have a difference in meaning. Pull, poke. Pull, pause. Okay? Same, almost the same word, same sounds, only one sound is different. And because of that, we have different meanings. Okay? Pull, poke. More examples for you. More examples here. Okay, so you have here pull. Okay, that's the word pull, and that's how it is pronounced. How? Yes, when you have brackets, it means how it is pronounced. The phonetic transcription. It is the way how each sound is pronounced. So you have pull. Pull with the aspiration, and then you have O, and then you have the velarized L over there. Now we're going to take this pull. So today we talked about pull a lot. So we're going to take this pull, okay, and then we're going to find other words which are similar to this word, but they differ in one sound. For example, you have boat, ball, you know, ball. And then you have toll, okay? And then you have a mall, supermarket, etc. Okay? And then our friend Paul, okay? Our friend Paul. So, in all these words, in phonetic transcription, if you look at the phonetic transcription, what do we have? We have the same sounds, and they differ only in one sound. In the first one we have B, in the second one we have T, and in the third one we have M, and the last one we have B. So these are different, and this is one thing. This is one difference. The other difference is in terms of meaning. Ball is different in meaning from tall, and different from meaning from all, and different from meaning from whole. So these are minimal pairs. right? And therefore, if we have something like this, we're not going to say allophones of the same phoneme. B, t, m, p, they are allophones. No, there is no phonetic similarity. There is no complementary distribution. Remember what we said about complementary distribution? We said that one never occurs in the environment of the other, in the position of the other. But in this one, we have the same position, but different sounds. This one, which means there is no complementary distribution. Instead of that, we have differences in meaning, okay? So we have minimal pairs. So when we talk about phones and phonemes and allophones, not only for vowels, not only for consonants, we can have the same issue for vowels as well. You can have a vowel which is pronounced differently, phoneme, and different allophones of the same phoneme. For example, we have here, okay, Paul, Pat, etc. So these are different words again, and they differ only in these vowels in here, right? And then this is one difference, and the other difference is in terms of meaning. These are different meanings, okay, from Paul. Another example, which we have used in the beginning, okay, pause, pork, Paul, and Paul, okay. So again, these are same environment in which we have difference in one sound and the difference in meaning, so minimal pairs. So, discovery procedure for different phonemes which is capable of distinguishing meaning are minimal pairs. Look for minimal pairs. If you have minimal pairs, then you can find and talk about phonemes. But if you don't have minimal pairs, you have instead phonetic similarity or complementary distribution. No, these are one phoneme, but they are allophones of the same phoneme. So, phonemes here, z, k, and l. And the other one for here, Paul, 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 is the same word, right? But here you have, these are variants, okay? We're talking about variants or allophones of the same phoneme, okay? Or l, etc. Okay? So, first part we focused on phoneme and allophones, and here we focus on different phonemes. How are we going to separate or distinguish between phonemes? When we have minimal pairs. Okay, minimal pairs, we have difference in meaning. Now this is a recap of the idea of phoneme and different, okay, different allophones. So you have here p, phoneme p, do you see it? P. And then you have this p is pronounced differently. P, aspirated, p, and the other one over there. And you see here they have complementary distribution. There is phonetic similarity between p here, and there is complementary distribution. This one never occurs here or here. This one never occurs here or in this environment, right? I give you some time if you want to take this example as well. It's the same like the other one for the left. Okay? Now, free variation. Free variation. For example, here you have Ron, carried, and present. Carried, present. So you have Ron. I want you to focus on one thing. Carried. I want you to focus on carried. Okay? So if you look at carried over there, it's the same word. And I want you to focus on the R over there. There are some people who pronounce it differently from others. Okay? Carried. Some people pronounce like that or the other way. So you have the same environment. Okay? But it is the same, okay, different pronunciations. For example, this is usually applicable for dialects. Okay? If you go to the United States, you are going to find some people in some regions, they pronounce it different from others who live in another place. The same thing in our, for example, complex. You have qaf and faza. Okay? Etc. Anyway, so if you look at the same sound, you have the same word, but the same sound is pronounced differently. In Casablanca, they pronounce it different from the people in Fas. Can you give me an example from Fas and then Qa? How do you pronounce the Qa, the Fas? Right? Huh? Qultlik. Qultlik. Okay? And here we say Gultlik. Okay? Or Casablanca, we say Gultlik. Okay? Same thing for Qultlik. Others, they pronounce it Qultlik. Okay? Now, Qult, Ult, Gult. So, Qult, Ult, and Gult. Okay? These are the same word, but the Q is pronounced differently. So, in this context, we have the same environment, but the pronunciation, one sound, but the pronunciation is different. So, this is free variation. Okay? Free variation. It's different from complementary distribution. What did we say about complementary distribution? What did we say? We have one sound never occurs in the environment or position of the other. Okay? But in this one here, we have the same position, but we have different pronunciations. Free variation. This is free variation. Okay? Free variation. And it is usually the result of differences of dialects, or it can be the result of social class membership. Some people are from some social classes, they can pronounce some sounds differently from other people from other social classes, the poor and the the rich. Okay? So these are some of the reasons why we can have this. Either it is the result of dialectal variation, or it can be the result of social variation. Right? So again, carry it. We have the same sound there, same environment. Okay? But we are not going to talk about minimal pair here. We are not going to talk about minimal pair. We talk about free variation. Okay? Free variation. So you have to be careful between these three. The first one, complementary distribution. Second one, what is it? Minimal pair. And the third one is free variation. Free variation, it gives you the impression it is like a minimal pair, but it's not a minimal pair. Okay? Why? Because you have the same environment, but there is no difference in meaning. Carried is the same as carried. Okay? Gultlik is the same as qultlik. This is free variation. Okay? So summary for all this. So for the phoneme, if you want to talk about phonemes, if you want to say that I have different phonemes, you need to give us the proof. What is your proof? Minimal pairs. And what do we mean by minimal pairs? We mean same environment, but different meanings. Example, Paul, Paul, or Paul and Paul. So K and L, different phonemes, because we have minimal pair. Same environment and difference in meaning. Paul and pause, same environment, same sound, not same sound, different sounds, but difference in meaning. So here we have minimal pairs. Now, my result, I say, these are K and L. K or L and Z are different phonemes. Why? Because I have minimal pairs. Right? Only one sound is different. Yes, only one sound is different. Yes. And you need to have difference in meaning. You need to have difference in meaning. Because you can have the same thing, like in carrier. Carrier, you have the same environment and almost different sound, pronunciation, but the meaning is the same. So in that case, I talk about free variation. Okay, free variation. So, yes?
Free variation has to do with pronunciation more.
Yes, it's more related to pronunciation, but the meaning is the same. It looks like, it gives you the impression that it's like a minimal pair in terms of format, but when you look at the meaning, carried and carried is the same meaning. Pole and poke, different meanings. So this first one is free variation. Pole and poke is minimal pairs because they have difference in meaning. Okay? So you have to be careful in your analysis. Please. In your analysis, pay attention. In your analysis, you need to be careful. You need to find minimal pairs, not free variation. You need to find minimal pairs and not free variation, because free variation looks like minimal pairs. But then, what is the difference between the two? Minimal pairs, you have difference in meaning. Pole, 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 pole. But in free variation, no difference in meaning. It's free variation. Carrier, carrier. Qultlik, qultlik. Okay? Now, this is for how you can differentiate the criteria for determining phonemes. Okay? Now, concerning allophones, and now I'm going back to the first part, you need to have complementary distribution and you need to have phonetic similarity. Complementary distribution, what is it? Complementary distribution, it is one sound never occurs in the position of the other. Yes. For complementary distribution, I go back with you, no problem. Let me go back with you here. For example, here you have Liz played with Paul. So we have to focus with me. You focus on Liz and played and Paul at the end. Now, complementary distribution, it means that one sound never occurs in the environment of the other. In this context here, this palatalized L, it always occurs before vowel. You can tell me that this palatalized is after or before a vowel, okay? Now, this is played and Paul over there, okay? This one is after p or k. Let me go back with you again. Remember this sentence, please. Liz played with Paul. And please focus with me on l, the first one, played, and Paul, l at the end. Now, let me go take you here. Okay. Where is it? This one? Yeah, here it is. Now, this is what we mean by complementary distribution. It means that the first palatalized L occurs only before a vowel. Always before. You cannot find this palatalized only at here, in this environment. You can never find it in there. This is complementary distribution, okay? Now, if we go to the example again, this one, this pronunciation here, you cannot have it here. Why? Because here you have p. You should only have palatalized and devoiced. Okay? The same thing for the other one, velarized, after a vowel. Complementary distribution. So let me go back to my conclusion. Okay? Now, this concept of phoneme, etc., the phoneme story, it was thanks to this guy, who was referred to as the father of phonology, and his name, not the Saussure, his name is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, father of phonology, and he was the first one to start talking about this concept of phoneme and how we analyze the phoneme and etc. Okay? Yeah, yes, please.
We have other forces, we have composite, distribution, and physics similar.
Yes.
So it's the same phoneme. So what about if you have minimal pairs?
If you have many pairs, you are not going to tell me, for example, I have two allophones, I have two phonemes. You have phoneme here and phoneme here. Paul, Hawk, L and K. These are different phonemes. You are going to tell it like that. P, another one here, K. And may P have different allophones. No, yeah, Roman alphabet, P and K. Yeah, with the slashes for the phonemes, right. And then the way how it is pronounced depends on the context where it occurs, okay? Sometimes you can have the P aspirated, sometimes it is not aspirated, it depends on the sound, on the environment. Okay, so this is it, and thank you very much. A beautiful thank you for your attention.